Hello, and thank you for joining me here for another video. Because it's so close to Halloween, I really wanted to share with you guys an experience I had. I think it was like kind of early in my spiritual awakening when I didn't really know a lot about protection. So I was having some things happening that were not very fun and some visits from some beings that did not feel very good. And in honor of this Halloween, Samhain, whatever you would like to call it, season, I thought I could share that experience here and how I got out of it in case you're dealing with unwanted visitors yourself. And yeah, and also talk about how my approach has kind of evolved over time in terms of protection. Hello, if you're new to my channel, hi, I'm Hiba. Thank you for clicking on the video. This channel is where I post a bunch of my spiritual musings and my art, so if that interests you or you like meditations or soul language, maybe consider following the account, or I guess on here it's subscribing to the account, or you can just enjoy this video or not enjoy it. Either way, thank you for being here, and if you know me, hello, thank you for being here again, and let's get right into the video. So when I was initially going through my spiritual awakening, I was really secure in the understanding that I am safe. So I didn't really bother with protection because to me it was inconceivable. I don't know why, but it was inconceivable that during this time where I'm so vulnerable that I wouldn't be protected. So I was very certain that I wasn't going to get attacked or anything like that, or just bothered by other spirits. However, the context at that time I was missing is that part of the spiritual journey is having those experiences at times to learn the importance of protection and keeping your space energetically clean and being very specific about who and what you let into your space. But I wasn't really thinking about that. I was just like, oh my God, I'm having all these visions, all these crazy experiences, very tangible experiences. And I was having a lot of fun. So I just didn't think about it, honestly. So during this time, because I wasn't really into protection, I didn't really think I needed it. I would go to bed and I would have these vivid visions and experiences, and I almost what's the word, astral projected knowingly, I felt my legs float up and I'm about to leave my body, my spirit, and I'm having all these crazy experiences until eventually one night it's happening again. I'm seeing all these symbols and things of that nature, and I'm feeling this deep peace, I'm very connected, and very sensitive, right, to the other realms, let's say, beyond the tangible. And then suddenly I feel the room get just extremely heavy. It was weird. It felt like there was a definite weight in the room, a blanket was just thrown over me and every space in it, and the air just became this dense thing sitting on top of me, which was so weird. You could literally feel the density change in the room when this being entered. So this weight happens. I'm feeling it. I'm kind of what's going on? And I feel this at the pit of my stomach, this deep dread. It's unlike anything I have ever felt before and since. It was really horrendous, honestly. It wasn't a fun feeling, and it wasn't something weird happened and I got scared. It was very much a presence that was so dense and icky entered the room, and just because it was so dense and icky, my body had an involuntary physical reaction to it, which was that pit of dread in the stomach. It was totally not something I could control. Then I felt this I was pretty sure it was a man. I don't really know how else to describe that, but I felt like it was a man, a male presence on my left side, kind of just appear there beside my bed and just stand there. And I was so scared. I refused to open my eyes. I was too afraid to see what was there, what it might look like. But I could, it was I could feel that he was standing there. It was so tangible. It was like I could feel the attention on me. I could feel this thing looking at me. And at the same time, like, the room is so heavy and I have this pit in my stomach, and and my form of protection at that time was putting the covers over my head, which, I mean, kind of worked. So I do this, I'm like closing my eyes, and I am too scared to even be like, you're not allowed here, get out of my space. I think I was also confused the first time this happened, because I was like, is that a guide? Like, maybe like they just have an intense energy and that's why it's like scary. And like, I don't think it was a guide now, but at that time I was still learning a lot of stuff. Like, I didn't know a lot of things and I was feeling my way through it. I didn't have any guidance. Like, I didn't have anybody at all to talk to about this and like receive help. So the first time that happened, I was like not even sure if it was like a bad being or if I was overwhelmed, but like looking back at the memory and every night it happening again, like, it did not feel like a good fucking spirit. Like, I feel guides now, even guides that can maybe have an intense energy. Some people say Hecate has an intense energy, but like in my experience, she does not feel like what that thing felt like. Like, that was a lot. But yeah, my form of protection, I was so like afraid of this being and just afraid of what was happening, and I'm very much like, I just didn't want to deal with it. So I have the covers over my head because I'm so brave. And I and I basically just, I kept asking for Archangel Michael's help, I guess, like, but like really panicked and not clear. It wasn't quite clear what I wanted. I was just like, I just said, please help me, over and over. And eventually that would work, but it didn't work right away. And it got to the point where I'm like walking around the house and I'm sitting at the kitchen counter and I feel something run at me really fast, like, just like with so much force, and like I felt it coming at me from behind, that I thought it was my brother. So I screamed and I turned, like, my whole family is like, well, what the fuck, like, just wherever they are in the house. And I turn around to start yelling at my brother, and my brother was not there at all. My brother was on a different floor doing something else, and it was just me in the kitchen, and whatever had run up at my back. So stuff like this would happen. I would like move from room to room in my own home because I'd be so scared of this being, and I wouldn't tell it to like go away. I was just too scared. So I didn't even try to tell it to go away. I just kept, like, I'd move from room and I'd feel it there again. I'd get up and I'd go to another room and I'd feel it there, and I would just keep doing that. And and I'd keep asking for help in the same way. Like, I wouldn't tell the being to go away myself because I was so afraid of it. And I know now that, like, I was probably, they were hoping that I would just be, like, fed up and then be like, no, go away, like, this is my space, and like claim my space and my energy, right? But I never, like, okay, I did do that eventually, but I didn't really do that at that time while that was going on. It was just like too scary, too overwhelming, and I just didn't really believe that I had the power to do that, I think. So since I felt that way, I was like, well, it'll know I feel that way and it's not going to listen to me, so why try? So yeah, that happened a lot. I even like temporarily like kind of gave up spirituality, because it, not for very long, honestly, but just because like that was so like impossible for me to deal with, is how it felt, and I didn't have anybody I could ask, like, and like a real person I could talk to and get help from. So I felt kind of like lost. And I started to feel really like vulnerable, like I'm by myself trying to commune with whatever beings exist out there, and I have like no one to kind of like ground me or like help me. That wasn't good. so yeah, like, honestly, yeah, so for a little bit I was like, okay, just leave me alone, like, I'll stop doing spiritual stuff, like, go away. And since I started focusing on like shutting it off and not doing that stuff, it actually stopped. However, as you see me here on this channel, clearly that didn't last long. So how did I get back into spirituality and, learn protection? basically, I decided to do a little more research on that. I eventually did find, like, mentors to kind of help me with that stuff. And one of the things I learned was to use, is that I could, like, specifically ask for help, firstly. That I was told that I could ask Archangel Michael, specifically, like, to protect my body and my spirit while I sleep, and, just be specific. So I started doing that every night, and straight up, like, I've had some weird experiences, but nothing really, like, nothing like attacking me, so to speak, while I'm going to bed. That works. Like, that method definitely works. It's not the only way to protect yourself. As me myself, I still will call on Archangel Michael sometimes if I feel like something is weird, but you don't have to rely on another entity to protect you, which is like a lesson that took me a very long time to internalize. So yes, if you're scared, you tried claiming your space and telling it to go and it's not working, please ask for help. Just be specific. Ask, a collective guide. Like, I would recommend Archangel Michael. He's pretty good. It works. But I'm a witch, and part of being a witch, at least for me, is like cultivating and connecting to your own magic and your own divinity, right? Like, you are the creator who mixes like intention and the non-physical with the physical, like through spells and stuff, and like create new pathways, new ways of being, magic, manifestation, whatever you are trying to create. So part of that lesson that came through was that it's fine to ask like your guides for protection and stuff, and if you feel like you need them, like, don't hesitate. It's not bad to ask for help at all, but that's not the only way to protect yourself. So one of my guides came through, one of my, I'll say, witchy guides, and she taught me to, firstly, she showed me the like the ground and like the moss of like a forest floor, like that deep green that's connected to, all those nutrients and all that life, all that vitality, and to imagine that color kind of engulfing my space and my aura. It's very nurturing, even like that green. It's not green like the heart chakra. It's green like the richness in the forest floor. Like, it's a very rich green, if that makes sense. To have that, and then to have a brass colored light of protection around that green bubble, so that the only things that come through, you can kind of decide, you can set that, brass protection with the intention that only beings on your team of light can come through. And especially if you're going to bed, like, that's usually what I do. I'm like, only guides aligned with Hibba's, who are on Hibba's team of light and aligned with Hibba's highest good, can come through. So those beings can come through, and everything else is kind of reflected off and like cannot get in. And you can do that yourself, and that on a normal day should be sufficient for protection. Like, you have power. And it took me a while to realize, oh, like, I can just tell a being to get the hell out of my space if I want to, and I can declare it. Like, I can cast my own magic and my own energetic spells to protect myself. Like, I'm not so powerless. So that's what I do now. I'm happy to report it's been it's been a couple of years. Okay, maybe I've made it sound longer than it is, but it's been a couple of years, and I have not been, I guess, psychically attacked, if that's what we want to call it, by any beings. I've had some like weird beings in my house, but never in my room, knock on fucking wood, because that would suck. Not in my room, not disturbing me while I sleep. Like, I might hear like the odd voice while I'm going to bed, but like, that's, I remember once I was like, I heard like a voice say something or whatever. It didn't seem like a menacing presence or anything like that, but I was like, okay, like, I hear you, but I'm going to bed, like, I just can't be talking to you right now, like, you have to go, I'm sorry. And then I just heard it go, bye. or something, or just like, okay, I think at another time when that happened again, stuff like that. So yeah, no spooky experiences since I've learned protection. But yeah, that's kind of one of, I think like my spookiest experience, my spiritual experiences beyond those I just shared, have not been scary. Like the vast majority of my experiences have been really beautiful and connected and empowering. I don't want you to think that like getting into spirituality means you're going to be like tortured. I can say, at least for me, it was a very temporary thing, and it was a thing I always had the power to solve. I just didn't know. So now that you're here, you know there are things for you to do, and there's ways to be spiritual that aren't going to harm you. There's ways you can protect yourself. There are good beings that you can ask help from. Yeah, I just thought I would share a fun, spooky experience. It wasn't fun when it was happening, but in hindsight, a fun, an interesting story related to something spooky. So yeah. So thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed the video, or that it was supportive to you and your journey here. Thank you so much for being here, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye.